Yeah.
But I will find them. Good evening. What is all doing here? Have you not got anything better to do on a Saturday night rather than watch a pre-season friendly? Not got pubs to go to or anything like that. My name's Kevin Graham, and welcome to a Celtic State of Mind live pre-match preview of our friendly against Chelsea. And you'll be wondering why I'm here after I said yesterday that I do not watch pre-season friendlies altogether. Well, those who watched it yesterday will know that I was meant to be in Grangemouth tonight with PJ, who is interviewing Joe Ledley and Charlie Mulgrew. And I must admit, the ladies of Grangemouth are in for a great night. They too are right eye candy, both of them. After meeting Joe Ledley last night, man, he nearly turned me. So did Charlie. Charlie's here is absolutely fantastic. But I'm babysitting the Waynes because the wife's away out. And Paul says, well, you can do the match day. And I'm like, Paul, I didn't watch pre-season friendlies. He went, well, you are? No. So that's why I'm here. As everybody in the comments will actually see, all the viewers and all of that will actually see, I'm joined by a new face on Acsom. And again, talking about eye candy, once again, we're upping the stakes. We've went for Jerry, Acsom, and now we've got Ryan Pearce. Ryan, welcome. You make me want to stop eating cheese, mate.
Oh, geez. Sorry. Well, first of all, pleasure to be here. No, it's great, especially coming on the stateside with Celtic wrapping up the trip. I think it's been wonderful to be on, but please do not put me in the same category as Joe Ledley and some of the others and Matty O'Reilly. So I'll be off to the side and pretend like I'm not in that group. But I would like to get Charlie Mulgrew's hair. If you can tell me what he does, I'd love to have that top of my head. So.
Well, it's quite funny. We went to a night where it was Mark Wilson was with Charlie Mulgrew, and Mark Wilson was going like that. Charlie, you never had that hair when I played with you. So Mark Wilson was kind of like alluding to the fact that that Charlie might have had some work done on his hair, but I don't know if that was just a bit of banter or not.
Right. I don't remember him playing in Turkey at all, so maybe he did. So
maybe not 100% sure about that. We're not 100%. Well, he did play in Turkey, but he had some head of hair, and he's also quite tall. So was Joe Ledley. There's a picture of me and Joe Ledley last night, and folk are going like that to me. Are you standing in a ditch? Are you kneeling down? Joe Ledley's quite a tall chap, a very, very sound chap who has now got a Celtic heart and soul after talking to him. He really, really loves the club. Ryan, folk are going to realise with your accent that you're no Fiscal bride. So tell us where you are in the States and how you become a Celtic fan.
Yeah. No, I'm in just outside the Boston area. I've lived up in New England my whole life, born and raised here. My father hails from Bowness, hence why I'm. I know, which is a Celtic quarter from Bowness is quite unusual.
Very unusual.
Very unusual, exactly. So, but no, he got me into Celtic at an early age. I have memories of going to Celtic Park and having the old People's kit on. But I kind of got into Celtic a little bit different. Obviously living stateside, I don't have the luxury of going over. I've been to many games over there, also to a few other parks. Also, my father and I had the privilege of going over to Seville. Still lives in my memory, even though sadly, did not end the way we wanted to. But Celtic has just been in my blood for as long as I remember. I think my first memory ever really, really stuck was the 5-1 game with Lubo's 2 goals. I just remember being in the pub, early morning, watching that game, having a rowdy group around me. And I was, much younger then and just kind of a wee bit terrified and everyone's shouting at each other like, you don't leave that seat and you stay there, and everyone's getting superstitious and stuff like that. And I just, that mindset was just built into me. And and to this day, I get up every morning as much as I can. Don't go into the pub as much as I wish. It's, move further away from it. But if you're in the Boston area, definitely go down to the Boston Club. It's just it's a great experience.
It must be a great experience. And look, I'm very flippant about pre-season games. And I must admit, when I spoke to Joe Ledley last night, I'm glad he had the same opinion as me He says you can't look into pre-season games. Every manager has got a different idea of what they want for a certain game at a certain time. And I think you see that tonight with the teams that we've put out and the team that Chelsea put out. And we'll talk about that, but because I'm more interested to talk to you being a tin for Bonets. But just kind of...
I'll tell you a story about that. Is after the Seville game, I was spent a couple of days in Madrid, and most people would want to go out and see the sights and absorb the culture. And I just, as soon as I found 3 or 4 fellow Tims going into a pub, I just went there and we were just having some pints and we sing song all night. And I was, obviously with my accent, talking to a few of them, and they were telling me, where are you from? How you become a Celtic? Oh, my father's from Bo'ness. And like, oh no, Bo'ness, you're not a Celtic supporter. you must be mistaken. Like as if I just said, oh, the team from Glasgow. No, I swear. And one of them pointed at me. He goes, "There's no way you're a Celtic supporter." I won't repeat the word that he called me. He says, "You're one of that," and I repeated back to him, "It's impossible. I'm one of those." And he goes, "How is that?" And I started singing a song about how you don't seem to see a handsome sort of those kind. Mm-hmm. And I didn't pay for a pint for the rest of the night. So I definitely drained into that. But exactly.
So you're definitely for Bonus then, not putting your hand before the pockets, ain't you?
Exactly.
Definitely. Ewan Boy Martin comes in. I met Ewan Boy last night at Gracie's. Another brilliant Acsom night last night. Joe Ledler was so funny. Kevin Graham, great to see you again. Ewan Boy Martin's quite tall, by the way. He's quite a tall chap as well. I was quite taken aback. Maybe it's just because I'm wee. Maybe this. Everybody's tall compared to me. Ewan Boy Martin again. Hail troops. Alan Rooney. A bit of Mark Cross about you, Ryan. There you go. You're already getting compared to ex-Celts.
If I could only pass the ball like I could, then I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Ewan Boy Martin comes in and tells us he was Joe Ledley's 6 foot, same height as me. Stop rubbing it in to us, guys. Let's see who else is in the comments. Paddy Lavery. Evening all, let's keep up the good feeling with another win. Paul Maguire. Sorry I missed you in Santa Ponza, Kevin. I missed you as well, Paul. Sorry about that as well. The only night I was really out in Santa Ponza was the Monday night, and I was between the Dubliner and Jinky's bar, and I was extremely rough on the Tuesday, I must admit. Jugs of cocktails are no for me. I can tell everybody that at the moment. Right, Ryan, how do you think Celtic have done in America then? As an exercise, it's been 10 years since we've been there. I think we've done a lot of good stuff with the charity stuff. I'm going to say brand exposure because it is brand exposure. That's why they'll call it. How do you think we've done, and how have we been received with the Scottish and Irish diaspora over there?
Well, first of all, I was initially gutted when I knew that they were coming out here, and when I saw it was in DC and North Carolina and Indiana, I was gutted just because Boston is in New York area as well, such a great area for Irish American heritage and stuff like that. So I wasn't able to make it down to the games, but I was actually surprised. They put on, I think, a great events, out and around side the games themselves, whether it's open training, whether it's some of the things that the charity has done, especially in the colleges, connecting with the colleges. It was great to hear Brendan talking about the connections that I wasn't even aware of between Notre Dame. Obviously, everyone knows on the surface Fighting Irish, but found in similar circumstances, both founded in 1888. So the parallels there. So it'll be interesting to see. It's a massive stadium, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get close to filling it out there, but interesting to see how much they can do it. But
the events manager from the stadium says they were expecting round about 40,000.
Which I think is about half, which is what I would suspect as well. So in general, I've been pleased with the football. I remember when they came out about 10 years ago. I think they played at Fenway. I was at that game. One of my favorite parts of that game is the organizers didn't want it to end as a draw, so they had them come back out and do one of the most sham penalty shootouts you've ever seen. And I remember Strachan was losing his mind because it's a preseason friendly. You just want to get out there, get your fitness up, and go home. But I don't remember that trip. If the U.S. was the beginning of their preseason and then they played more games when they came back. But I do like how the team has had a few, 2 games and a closed doors game with Burnley, because they came over here a wee bit sharper, and you can kind of see that a little bit from the DC game and especially the Man City game. The team looked real sharp, especially the midfield trio of Rio and O'Reilly and McGregor. They were just pinging the ball back and forth. And I think it's great, especially in the States over here, in the last 10 years, the exposure the Premier League has gotten. And now the Football League just signed a major deal with one of the broadcasters over here, mostly just for the exposure that's coming out from Wrexham. You have a lot of football supporters that are, 10 years ago and said, oh, I want to get in the Premier League. Sure, West Ham's my team, or sure, this is my team, or sure, that's my team. They don't necessarily have as much of, what I have with Celtic, which is that family connection. And they're not going to have as much of that nuanced knowledge that we have of, this is a preseason game. They're going to see the champions of Scotland beating the champions of England, albeit, with half of their players not playing. But that scoreline's still going to be there. The social media posts are still going to be there. So I really hope that there's a level of interest that people go and say, oh, what's this team over here? They're playing good football. They're beating DC United, who's in the middle of their season 4-0. They're scoring 4 goals against Man City. Who knows what they're going to do tonight against Chelsea? So from the footballing aspect, I've been very, very happy with how it's played out.
I found it quite interesting, especially the Man City game. We've got Sky Sports across here, and during the day before the Man City game, they were in the town, and they were talking to Man City fans, and they were really bumming it up as is, oh, look at Man City's reach in America. And it was really quite good that the only bit of fan culture that I actually saw came for the Celtic fans.
Yeah, it was the only chance you can hear. You heard people getting excited when Man City scored and celebrating when they scored, but you didn't really hear any chants coming from supporters. You didn't see any people changing their seats and congregating to a wee, little jungle in the corner over there. But the Celtic fans were doing that, so you definitely got a little bit more of a feeling of the kind of Celtic culture from these games than you did from Man City. I think it was very eye-opening, which is wonderful.
But it was like the culture of here as well. The chants were from here. They weren't made up chants like Americanized chants. They were the chants that you hear every Saturday coming from the Green Brigade, the boys, the actual stadium. They wear those chants, and I'm like, that's brilliant. That is absolutely amazing that's actually happening. Just before we came on. Well, just before I actually fell asleep about an hour ago. Just before that, I was watching Liverpool were in Pittsburgh last night, and I was watching our good friends for the Anfield wrap-up for Pittsburgh, and they were having tailgates and all of that, and they had a big Liverpool Pittsburgh supporter club there. But what I really liked about that was, again, they had took Scouse culture to there. It was a bit like what I saw the Celtic fans had done the other night there against Man City. Was they weren't trying to be American sports fans. They were trying to be Celtic fans. They were Celtic fans. Sorry, I'll actually rephrase that. They were Celtic fans, and they were buying into the culture of Celtic. And that's a massive, massive difference that Celtic need to buy into.
100%.
These guys wearing the Man City tops and the folk that are going to be there wearing the Chelsea top will switch like that. They'll switch like that. But guys like yourself and the guys that were there the other night who have got the Celtic culture in their blood, that is what Celtic need to actually buy into. That's the way that we'll get into the Irish and the Scottish diaspora's hearts in America,
100%. I mean, I think it's a unique opportunity. I was just talking about this earlier today where, in a weird way, you're going to have some supporters that are going to be here that are Leicester supporters, because the time that they started watching the Premier League is when Leicester won the league. You're going to have some supporters that are going to be, there's a period of time where West Ham is doing much better than some of the other bigger teams. And you got a contingency of West Ham supporters when they're not traditionally known as being one of the bigger teams. But being slightly outside that with Celtic and knowing that the team from the other side of Glasgow is in nowhere near the amount of reach that Celtic has, you might have this unique opportunity where you can have, two mates that got into, English football at the same time. I'm an Arsenal supporter, I'm a Tottenham supporter, they go at each other, but they're also both Celtic supporters. And that's a world I think Celtic can strive to. It's also unique as well because, the pub culture over here where you go watch the games, most of it's Irish pubs you're going into. Most of it, I've been to a few of them that aren't even Celtic pubs, but there'll be a Celtic kit in the corner. So you kind of have a little bit of that foundation built into what you're doing with these games. So why not expand on it and just make it everyone's team?
I know, it's like we could be everybody's favourite second team. If we were in the English Premiership, our support would absolutely double. I'm for Stirling, right? I'm for Barrett, and I'll go a walk up the Robert the Brucey as we call it, and and you meet American tourists all the time who say that either the 150th descendant from William Wallace and we would end up with a load of them. We would, because
exactly. Yeah.
And another thing as well, if only we had a backstory, a foundation story where we were founded by an Irish priest to feed the Catholic poor and the Irish poor.
Exactly.
The Glasgow. If only we had something like that we could sell to the Irish and the Scottish diaspora in America. We should be actually cleaning up. If only we had something like that.
Yeah, the one unique challenge that I've always seen is that over here, if you already have the Irish heritage, granted, you get close to St. Patrick's Day and everyone's a wee bit Irish as it comes to it, except for the Scottish, as we like to joke. But what you get a little bit unique is that if you're Irish American or have that heritage and you're a football supporter, you are already a Celtic supporter or Liverpool or Man United, or you couldn't care about football. And you'd be surprised how much that gulf is. So it's not so much how do we get those Irish American football supporters. They're already somewhat there. It is, I almost see as the group that don't identify as much as being Irish, but have built into this now, growing culture with the Premier League and other leagues that are getting more and more popular over here in the Champions League, especially if Celtic are more consistently there. That's going to be the audience that's going to be easier to reach than the existing Irish community here that has already just declared they don't have an interest in football. That's going to be the tougher one to move. So that's why this tour, I think, is fantastic.
It's brilliant. Strange Love the Doctor, usual commenter, comes in. Celtic story is incredible. We need an American to come in and make an Apple TV show to teach the world about it. I mean, if Wrexham can do it, surely we can do it.
Exactly.
That's the way that I would look at it. Sean comes in to point out, just joined the stream. Are you watching the game tonight, Kev? I am up. I'm being forced to be gunpoint with PJ. I'm actually being forced to be gunpoint. As you'll actually notice, we're 18 minutes in and we haven't spoke about the game yet, because that's the type of thing that I do. What's the wee public service announcement, Ryan? You says in the group chat earlier on that the game is on ABC in America. What ABC channel is it on for all you with access to American telly?
It's one of the single digit ones, depends on where you live. It changes. That's a unique thing about American TV, but it's one of the major networks, which is fantastic. It was on ESPN2, the last game, and I don't even remember what the DC United game, but this is going to be middle of the day, Saturday on one of the prime channels, which is fantastic.
So anybody that's having any bother trying to see the Celtic game, just search for ABC and you might pick it up. So let's talk about the Celtic team. The Celtic team that Brendan Rodgers has actually named tonight is Casper Schmeichel, Tony Ralston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liam Scales, Greg Taylor, Callum McGregor, Matt O'Reilly, Rio Atati, James Forrest, Daisen Maeda and Kyogo. First thing it jumps out to me, take Forrest out of that team and replace him with Kuhn, and that's probably a team that's starting next Sunday. That's probably your strongest 11.
Yeah. It's a shame not to see, besides Schmeichel, not to see anyone on that list that we signed in this last window. But No, I completely agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see how the team kind of continues to push on, especially with Jamesy, who's really established himself as the number 2 on the right-hand side. Whether or not that's going to be something that we're going to look to strengthen this window, I'm not sure. I think he's still going to be a fantastic server for us, but it's great to go out there with full strength, as I said, and show this, worldwide but American audience, what this team can do, especially that midfield three. If the midfield three play anywhere near the way they played in the first half of last game, it's going to be a joy to watch.
There's a few folk in the comments asking where Alistair Johnson is. Alistair Johnson's still not with the squad because he's had extra time off after the Copa America. I said on the podcast a couple of weeks ago that Ralston would start against Kilmarnock because of that reason for Alistair Johnson. He'll be delayed coming back in. So we're probably looking at Tony Ralston starting the first couple of league games. Tuna, Keith, are you forced to watch Celts? What a plonker. No, I've been forced to watch a pre-season game. I'm being forced to watch a pre-season game. Sean, I wonder if Jim's tuning in. Jim's been calling me a Judas all day because I'm going to watch this pre-season friendly. It's all banter, boys. Come on, didn't take things far, far too seriously. It's a Saturday night. You should be a couple of cans in by now. Let's have a wee look at the... I'm going to... Sean again, it seems like I'm picking on you. No, that's the wrong man. Brian Murphy. Let's not talk about the elephant in the room, no signings. We will speak about that post-match. We will actually talk about that post-match because that's probably the place to actually talk about it. Danielle, bit of eye candy on Acsom, smashing Saturday. The starting 11 is disappointing, though. Seeing Scales gives me the fear. Another season of an SPL team exploiting the left-hand side of the defence. You see that team, and you know it's good enough for the Scottish League. You do know it's good enough for the Scottish League. My argument is, and it was my father-in-law that says this to me, he says if he saw Liam Scales playing for a Hibs or an Aberdeen, which he did play for Aberdeen, he says he'd go, decent player, but no for us. I still think that's a bit of a slight on Scales, who didn't let us down last season. Let's put it that way. He didn't let us down last season, And I had to laugh that he was getting abuse for Haaland out jumping on me. I've seen Haaland outsmart better defenders than Liam Scales. The guy's not going to catch a break. The boy's not going to catch a break, no matter what he does.
What's interesting with I've noticed with that too is that we, especially with Brendan, we give a lot of credit in his ability to develop players, but sometimes we mostly focus on players that are on the periphery and how we can develop them to be in the first team. You can still develop first team players, and when I see a team come out like this, I know it's almost the same exact team that finished the season, or like pretty much identically the same team that finished the season. But you need to expect that a preseason under Brendan and more of his coaching, more of his guidance with that team, that they can elevate to a new level. We've even saw that with Matt O'Reilly. Arguably, his best season was last season under Brendan Rodgers, kind of helping him to elevate his game to the next level. So while I would prefer, especially as we get into Europe, get someone in there to kind of push Scales and probably have Scales be the number 2 on the left-hand side and see if he can reclaim that spot, which if he is, that means he's elevating his game. We still have to give Brendan and the team some credit that, Liam Scales of last year should be less than Liam Scales this season. And can we actually see him push on there? I also think it's a wee bit difficult just because of some of his drawbacks on, those floated balls in from the left side. It's not something that Taylor is in his strong suit as well. Usually when Taylor's in the team, we need the balance of Dyson in there to help with that running back and kind of pressing. So Dyson with his height. So you really have this 3, and you can even put Rio on that on the left-hand side too. He's of the 3 center midfielders, he's the least defensively inclined. So you really got this imbalance there. So I don't think it's too fair to put it on Scales. I would like him to do more and do better, but he's probably got it a wee bit more difficult than CCV does with AJ, with Matt O'Reilly, with others on that right-hand side that can provide a wee bit of that cover.
I mean, he got a new 4-year deal. PMCA comes in. Scales didn't let us down. Exhibit 1, Aberdeen semi-final. He was ranked rotten that game. He was absolutely ranked rotten that game, and that's the back post that you're actually talking about there. But Callum McGregor getting the ball away at Ibrox in the 3H game. I could list loads of players who had dodgy games. Over the course of the 50-odd games or whatever number of games that Liam Scales played for us, he didn't let us down. He did not let us down with a guy of we know the limitations of his ability. Yeah. It's interesting to hear Brendan Rodgers speaking about Kyogo. Now, he says Kyogo's came back a different beast since this pre-season. He says he's making the runs. He's looking more happy within his game. This is another good chance for him tonight against a higher level of opposition. We didn't ken with Chelsea. Chelsea have got 4 games after that before their season starts. And the 4 games are against Club America, Man City, Real Madrid and Inter Milan. That's the 4 games that they've got after us. They played Wrexham, was it 2 nights ago? So I think this is a
1-1 draw, right? Yeah.
So this is a completely different level of fitness wise, but strikers like scoring goals, so you hope, so you do hope that Kyogo can maybe keep on the score sheet.
It's great to see him. I think it's not so much he's coming back with a little bit more pep in his step, but I think it's also the other players in the team are finding his runs. I mean, that pass by Kuhn outside of his foot, and it was beautiful. And just see the team pinging the ball a little bit around. He's still dropping deep. I think he's still doing that a wee bit, maybe not as much. Before it was a little bit more in desperation just to get a touch on the ball. And now it seems like a little more thought out in how they're playing. Honestly, I still think Kyogo, even if and when Ida comes in, is still our number 1 striker. He's just the movement that boy has and just the way he's been playing and how many goals he's scored for this team. He's just still number 1 on the team sheet for me. And if we can continue to find those runs, then we'll just find that success. And you can see that there. What I'm more interested in seeing is getting to the second half is there another option in this team besides having Mikey Johnson as our de facto number 2? Because I think we've tried it 2 or 3 games now as the little pilot we're going to try out there. It doesn't work. So what's plan B or plan C in that until we bring someone in here? And if that is your only plan B, that has a lot of concerns. And this is when you do it. This is preseason. There's going to be wholesale changes. Why not try someone else? There has to be someone in that squad. Even put Dice in the middle there. I know he's better for us on the left, but let's just get this team moving around with someone else besides Kyogo and someone else besides MJ, because I personally, as a Celtic supporter, I need to see some other option there until we bring another face in.
I'm probably a more romantic Celtic fan. I want to see somebody coming through. I want to see one of our own coming through. I was quite disappointed that Vata left after Rodgers saying I wanted you to be the 3rd striker. It would have been interesting to see how he bedded in this tour. No, maybe in the games, how he bedded into the squad and the training. I think the training's more important than actual games here for players bedding, how they react being in this sort of bunker mentality. Away constant at a training camp. Stevie Boy comes in, sweet Lord. I don't know if that's for you or me, Ryan, but I think it's probably for you.
I was assuming it was for you.
You and
By the
Boy
way, to answer some of the people, because I see some questions around, there's a wee debate about who's behind my head.
All right.
You got Jimmy Page, Robert Plant here. You got my idol, Randy Rhodes, and then in the corner you got Zach Wild back there. So I've seen a lot of guesses of Steve Vai, close. I've seen Prince far off, but there you go.
Ewan Boy Martin, he had quite a few vodkas last night. He's new on the tonic. He's telling us he's a bottle of tonic in, and a opinionating Glaswegian. He comes in quite right, and I'm going to caveat this before we sign off and go and watch the game. If you're going to judge players on one-off games, then there's no good players in the world. That is correct. And if you're going to judge players on pre-season friendlies, which are just basically glorified training sessions, as Joe Ledley agreed with me last night when I was talking to him about then we maybe need to actually take ourselves less seriously. It's always going to be good to beat Chelsea. Hopefully we do beat Chelsea,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to lose any sleep over. I'm not going to lose any sleep over if we didn't do it. What we'll
I just
do,
don't want to get scalped. That's the only thing. Is this when you come out here, you just don't want to get scalped, especially in front of this audience. And I don't think this team's going to do that, which is great.
hopefully not. Right, we'll let everybody go and get the game, and we'll see you back here at half time. Ryan, thanks for coming on. Great debut, and that will continue at half time, I'm sure. See you all
Cheers.
later. Hail, hail.
See you at halftime.